Hi everyone, welcome to our WWDC Community Week 2022. Today we in really warm company with Stefan Bloss, Antoine Wanders Whitley, Maninda Singh and me, Anna Zhirkova, are going to discuss about recapping the first day of WWDC sessions. Hello guys.
Hello.
Hi.
So what was your impressions about the keynote and the first day?
You can start, Stefan. Go from left to right.
I can. All right. So for me, like the impressions were more positive than I had in my very first impressions I got after the keynote instead of the union, because I was a little bit bummed out at the beginning because I thought there would be like huge announcements, like things like maybe Reality OS, some bigger augmented reality improvements, maybe like bigger hardware like the Mac Pro. But then I thought more about it, and I started, like, when watching the State of the Union, I thought like it's like a more subtle event with much more development focused improvements, like not on the consumer side, but for developers I think the improvements are huge and there's so much to dive into. So like my impressions has been way more positive than I initially thought. What about you, Antoine?
Yeah, I think I fully understand where you're coming from. Before the keynote started, people asked me as well, like, what are you expecting? And you start thinking about it. And like other years, when Swift wasn't really mature yet, as it is today, you would wait for Async Await, or you knew Xcode Cloud was coming, or we had Marzipan going everywhere back in the days. But this year there wasn't really an obvious thing other than maybe wishing for things like Reality OS or like Swift data, what we're wishing for years and it's not coming yet. But then still, like the recap, if you look at the State of the Union, there are so many great improvements that make our development lives better. If only the small things like an app icon with a single size, or the refactor improvements in Xcode. And we'll go more in depth in all these features in a bit, but like it really makes our lives much better in a day-to-day basis because we use those tools every day, right? So the more sessions I watch, the better I feel about it. And it's maybe not the big announcement that we are used to from other WWDCs, but still there's so many great things announced. So yeah, I'm quite fulfilled already. It's going in the right direction.
And what about you, Maninda?
Same as Stefan. Like I was expecting a huge announcement in terms of development and in terms of product also. Like I was expecting about iPhone 14 or AirPod, a new product. But yeah, but yes, there is a huge improvement in development cost, and yeah, they give us many new things as well as plus improvement and in the message kit, and the M2 was something that make me feel like yeah, it's not that too bad. It's like streamlined to me.
So as for me, I thought about what could be shown for us this week, and also I was expected something new about concurrency, about Swift UI, but most features that was represented on keynote and State of Union was really surprising for me. And also there is a lot of topics. It's really too much topics for one developer, and there is too little time to watch every session. So, and how much sessions have you already watched, Antoine? People talk that you have watched every session of last of the first day.
Yeah, it sounds like a robot, isn't it? No. To be frank, I only watched 8, but it turned out to be quite a lot. But maybe to give a little idea about how I work around those sessions. like I tried to play them at 2 times the speed. From those 8 sessions, I think 2 were less than 10 minutes. Well, play it at 2 times speed, it's even less minutes, right? And at WeTransfer, we really try to support the engineers to watch sessions during the work hours as well, if it allows to. So I've been able to watch a few this morning as well. So it's not cheating, but I might have an advantage there in comparison to the others.
I think it's really nice hack to watch everything on double speed. And what about you, Stefan?
So I think I watched 2, but like I took a different approach than Antoine, because like if I watched every session I bookmarked, then I think I'd not be doing anything else during the week. So I decided to do like a more deep dive and really understand what's going on, and to try to really follow. And for example, I watched the What's New in Xcode session, and I tried to play around with the Xcode beta at the same time to just see like the new features and like more experience what they really feel like, and not only see it shown on stage. So that's I think a different approach, but yeah, not that many compared to our Speedster and one. What about you, Maninda? How many have you watched already?
It's just opposite to vendor. I have watched only one. It's around 30 minutes. So I have watched the recent update in charts. So like previously we used to like whenever we want to use charts or something, we need to outsource or use third party libraries. So eventually Apple provides us the charts library. So I have watched that and eventually, like opposite to vendor, I have watched in like normal pace, and I have watched twice the same video to understand better.
Yes, so am I. I I was waiting for Swift UI sessions, and the most hottest topic for me was navigation in Swift UI, because um, I'm also a tutor, and my students ask me about this news, and also I have made my solution about navigation. So I was expecting for several years when the native navigation will be published, and we could use it in our projects. So but also there is too much new things, such as Metal 3. Have anyone watched this topic, and what do you think about it?
I have not yet watched anything about Metal 3. I mean, I'm not really much of a game developer, or I haven't really touched upon that, so it's not really happened for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure even if the session is available already. That's how far I am into metal. No, I didn't touch metal as well, so I have no clue.
But Anna, you mentioned that you watched the navigation one already, right? What's your initial impression as someone who has been really involved in the topic?
Well, at first I expected that it will be something new and native, but also I was expected that it will be something inspired by a lot of developers. It seems to be intentions that uh, a lot of works of different developers could be an inspiration for Apple for the next solutions, and as it was last year with the architecture approach, when MVVM turned into MVI, or Redux for Swift UI. So, and this year it was something resemble, but also it seems that this approach is still be developed, because there still be several questions, and nothing is too clear. But it's okay. I think it's a really nice achievement that there is also a program way to make navigation not only with navigation link, and that's really cool. That's really cool. I think it's nice for the first step in this improvement. And also I was expected a lot of new things about concurrency, and for me, even the most of the sessions will take part next days. The new things about async sequence that makes it really resemble for me as also a Kotlin developer to Kotlin really sounds really nice, and I think it's a nice idea, and it is nice intention that Swift and Kotlin become really resembled, and it could be really easy for Android developer to become an iOS developer, or for iOS developer to use resemble Kotlin approach. So what about you? What do you think about this when two platforms become resemble?
I think it's an interesting question always, right? Like, I believe at all the companies that I worked, it became a topic, at some time, right? Building an app with a single language for both Android and iOS, maybe even Windows Phone back in the days. But yeah, even if you look at Kotlin as well as Rust, maybe also React Native, like all those languages have something in common. But I believe there was a quote like in the State of the Union, if I recall correctly, like Swift and Swift UI is the best way to build apps. In a way, you could argue whether they did that for this purpose, for this discussion. But yeah, I don't know. As of today, we are still really mandatory building apps in the specific languages, both Kotlin and Swift. We have a long way to go, I believe, before we start using only a single language. But I truly agree with you, and that the languages become more and more familiar and similar, right? So it becomes easier for one or another to jump back and forth between Kotlin and Swift, and that might already be a great step forward in terms of collaborating across multiple platforms.
I agree with what both of you said, because like I think the languages are already pretty similar in approach. For example, if you do things like if you look at things like collections and the manipulations you can do on them, it's like sometimes you can't really tell the difference between the two. So I think that's a very interesting thing, or an interesting development. But it just shows that probably the ideas that are flowing into the languages that dominate mobile development are probably just like they're reaching some form of agreement on what a good solution to solve a problem is. Like looking at concurrency, for example, I think Apple realized that like the closure-based syntax might not be the best way to do everything. So I think it's interesting to see that like these approaches are bleeding into other domains as well. I think it's a very welcoming approach because like Anna, if as you mentioned, like if someone wants to switch between the languages, it makes it really more and more easy to do that.
Yes, I agree with you. And well, and even a lot of different things were shown yesterday. There will still be a lot of different things that will be shown for us next days. What do you think about this, and what do you expect from the next days? Or what are the most expected for your sessions and the hottest topics?
Yeah, I think if you look at the sessions of yesterday, it's really like an introduction day, right? We have the What's New in Swift, What's New in Swift UI, What's New in UI Kit, all those What's New sessions. And you'll see if you watch those sessions, they will reference other sessions that are being published over the upcoming days, right? So in a way, you could also see it like an introduction to a certain topic and decide for yourself whether you want to dive deeper into it or not. So in a way, that excites me because there were a few of those topics that I really feel like I really want to dive in, and that describes a little bit of what you can expect in the upcoming days. So, for example, there's already one deep dive session that I watched actually this morning, and I'm pretty excited about it actually. So last year they introduced Async Await and Actors, and we got the chance to play around with it for a full year. I had the idea that I pretty much understood how it works. But I also had the idea that it was like a solution for everything. In a way, like, it solves data races. It makes threading easier. But of course, it makes it harder as well in certain ways, because you need to learn a new technique, and there's still ways of kind of like messing things up, right? But up until now, we didn't really have a way to figure that out, other than knowing what you do and really looking into your code. And there's a session already available called Visualize and Optimize Swift Concurrency, and it goes into depth in terms of how you can use the instruments to visualize your actors, your tasks, basically all your concurrency code. And it really allows you to dive deep into what is going wrong and what's not. And the example they gave, it's a Mac app for compressing files. Well, really made it good to follow the session. I was about to say easy to understand, but that's not entirely true. It still requires some time to digest it, but it made me realize, like that there's still a lot of room for improvement if we start using async await. And it's just one of the examples of a deep dive session that you can expect in the upcoming days to come.
And what about you, Melinda?
Okay. So like what I said, like as vendor said, the async await thing is quite fascinating for me since last year as well. Like previously, when we need to call a function in a call a closure or call a function in a synchronous way. So we need to make a ladder, like if this, if this, if this, if this, if this. Now the async await thing made the our approach easier, and our code also look like more easy to read. So yes, yeah. So fine. Over to you.
What do you think, Stefan, about all these improvements, and what are the most important for you and what most expected for you on the next days?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Antoine said, because like there's been a huge amount of like general things, but the next days are great to dive deeper into topics. Like one thing I'm really interested in is how the new app shortcuts and the app intent thing is working, because apparently there's been huge improvements for that. And I really like the way like they've been at least presenting it. And if that's like really if it's really as easy as they like promoted it to be, then that would be like a huge improvement to do. And I'm also excited about all the Swift UI things. I think Anna, you probably are the same. I think there wasn't a lot about it during, for example, the State of the Union. But if you dive deeper into it and, for example, look at some diffs of things that were added and removed, or like probably nothing was really removed, but there's been a lot of updates to existing functionality. There's been a lot of additions, like great additions, and things like Swift charts. It's also a great library. I think there's so much to discover there. So I think we only touched the surface of really all the different areas that are available or will be available in the next days. And I'm really looking forward to diving more deep into certain topics there. What's your favorite, Anna?
Well, I'm waiting a lot for different sessions about networking and also about background tasking with Swift UI. It seems to be a mission with Swift UI, concurrency, background tasking. Even a lot of improvements were presented several years ago. There still be something that could be changed on background tasking, and as a developer who do a lot of stuff with backgrounding, it seems to be a surprise what will be presented next this time. And also for me was really interesting session about new possibilities and new opportunities in technical state of operation systems, especially how to deal with virtual machines. What do you think about this new feature?
Yeah, it's hard for me to get an overview of those. That's the thing with WWDC, right? Like, I'm really focused on app development, framework development, Swift packages, and all those kind of things. And I did see this coming by on Twitter. Apparently, it's super easy to. Well, super easy is always hard to say in these things, but they make it much easier to work with this virtual environments through a programmatic way. But yeah, I believe I can conclude from this that, you know, WWDC contains so many sessions. It's super overwhelming, but it's for sure that you don't have to watch everything, and you won't be able to watch everything. And this topic combined with Metal 3 and maybe the more gaming specific sessions, but even app specific sessions, right? Like the app intents that Stefan just mentioned. I'm not doing anything with it right now. So I kind of deliberately decided to not watch them as well, because, you know, it's extra overload to process while you're not really actively using it this week or in the upcoming weeks nearby. So sorry, I know it's hard for me to give an answer on your actual question, but I believe it's also good for others to know, you know, like don't feel the pressure or the need to really watch every session, and try to focus on the ones that you believe are the most valuable to what you do in your day-to-day job or on your hobby projects.
I think that even not everyone are interested in technical sessions and topics about Metal 3. These new features means for every iOS developer that this operation system and the mechanism of language become really powerful and opens for us really good and big opportunities, and it means great changes in Swift in the future. Not only the thing that was presented with regex or maybe generic sessions, but there still be more and more improvements in future. What do you think about it?
You mean the changes to Swift specifically?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's well, I'll start, and I think it's just great to see like the way that new features in Swift enables new capabilities for like developing on the platforms. Async await being an excellent example for that, and also everything that came when Swift UI was introduced and the new enhancements in Swift UI came, that was very closely tied to new features in the language. So it's exciting to see what they will come up with, and like people might know that or might not, but you can always follow like the on Swift.org and the Swift forums. You can always follow like the proposals that are committed to be changing, like to introduce changes to the language. So it's really interesting to follow that and see why these features might be introduced and which like possible features they might drive to the language and to the operating systems. So I think it's really interesting. I really like the generic changes they did. The regex one is also a really powerful thing. I have a little bit of a mixed relationship with regex, because I mean I don't think there's too many people in the world who would say they love regex. Like that's a hot take, but still I feel like it's a great thing that they made this available and made this easier to work with. So maybe more and more people will feel more comfortable and familiar with approaching this topic. So I think it's a good addition, and the way they do that is really cool. What about you, Melinda? What do you think about that?
I was a bit worried about the latest iOS version. The Apple deprecate the bitcode thing in the app. So the platform stuff needs like our platform stuff needs to be work hard to make our app crash free. Plus, as per the new Swift feature and development, it's like in my point of view, like I used to use the normal code architecture and the normal function. Yes, the new feature might give me the new new enhancement, but uh, it's hard to use new thing in as early I can say. So yeah.
And I think it's also cool to look ahead, right? Like you said, Stefan, watching proposals is quite a fun thing to do if you really want to look forward to new features. And they released a bunch of sessions related to those proposals, like the build plugins, the regex as well. That one was in the proposal as well, or just the small one like the short if statement. But it's interesting to me if you think about it that we're still at Swift 5.7, right? We're working towards Swift 6. We didn't make it yet. I'm not sure if we're going to make it without an WWDC. I would totally see them announce a major release of Swift on a big event like WWDC instead of just a regular Xcode 14.3 update. That would feel a bit sad, I believe, but we're going from memory safety to thread safety, and they do a lot of things to make our lives as developers easier. And if you take a look back at where we came from, right, like the early days, I'm not sure how many of the listeners have been there, but I think that before Arc ages, retain release, we had so much more things to worry about. And then we had GCD on top of that, threading on top of that, right? You had so many things to think about. And if you look at where we are today, Swift UI makes it super easy to convert your IDs into apps, networking, threading. It becomes so much more maintainable. I think that's the future that we have ahead of us, like less friction towards building an output from the IDs that we have.
Okay. Well, I agree with all of you, and that's really cool that everyone were surprised, and also we have the session that we were expected, and some expectations became true, even even some brave expectations, and maybe it's not fantastic, but it's reality today. And I also like that today's state of Swift UI and other iOS and Swift features make our work really easy, because a lot of things are made automatically, and that's really cool. I also was surprised with new features as sharing, and Maninda, you have mentioned the messages API, and what do you think about these features with Swift UI?
Sorry, can you repeat it again? It's lagged from my side.
You have mentioned that you watched a session about messages. What do you think about this according to Swift UI and others resemble frameworks in
Okay.
Swift and iOS?
What I saw is like previously whenever the the Apple introduced new stuff in the messages, like they the user can edit the message and user can share the like uh, user can cut out the message and the emoji stuff. That thing I have watched in the messages, and it's quite interesting to me that Apple adapting the enhancement of the few things in past we don't have undo stuff in the mail, which fascinates me more to use the Gmail or other stuff. But if they are providing that kind of thing, I will move to native. So the enhancement that they made is quite remarkable to me. Uh, what about Stephen? Stephen, can you explain more about it if you know?
So the way I understand, you're talking about the mail app and everything, right?
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
yeah, I'm a I'm a pretty loyal mail and iMessage fan, so I'm using them all the time. So I'm happy to see these enhancements. I'm not someone who's using something else. So yeah, I think it's great additions. My big hope of getting a good voice message support for iMessage, well, my prayers were not like heard, but that's sad. But aside from that, I think the additions are great. I hope that keeps coming, because I really like the way the apps work, and the integration with the system is just great. So I really look forward to Apple continuing to improve those.
Yes. Also, there is a lot of different features such as sharing and share play and others. So, um, I think that all the sessions will be greater and greater, and at the end, as is mentioned on the program of the sessions, there will be the hardest session in every topic, even SwiftUI, concurrency, or the most hardest sessions.
Probably, yeah. So do you already have a favorite, Anna? What's your favorite session so far?
I'll be waiting for the next sessions about concurrency, because I think, as it was mentioned by you and Antoine, it's the basis of today's Swift and iOS. So I think that every developer should watch such sessions to know what to do on the work, and how to improve their projects. And it's really pity that iOS beta will be available on beta only on July, and that's just the June.
True.
How about you, Stefan? What will be your favorite session?
I was just scrolling through to see what my favorite session is, actually. I don't have anything yet, I have to admit. I didn't watch that many. I really enjoyed the Xcode session I watched, because it's just like a broad thing of things that will be like a very helpful tool that we use every day. So I think I really like the additions they're doing there. And yeah, I have to wait and see what my favorite session will be. What about you, Antoine?
Right.
You've watched everything, so what's the best so far?
Yeah, no, the one about visualizing and optimizing Swift concurrency is my favorite so far, but there's one I'm looking forward to. You've watched the What's New in Xcode session, and they briefly mentioned the build performance overview, where you could see how your whole build is performing. There are a few deep dive sessions related to it. It's not that I'm expecting us to do a lot of improvements in terms of like build times and stuff, but the thing is that if you zoom in on a certain piece that's taking a long time, you can learn from that single piece of code how to not write your Swift code in terms of delaying build performance. And that journey is kind of like a nice way to become a better Swift developer and make improvements for the future and for your current build system in a way. So yeah, I'm not sure if that is going to be answered in that session, but I'm at least really looking forward to see, like what does it mean for the projects that I work on, and what can I apply in my day-to-day code that I write, other than obviously delivering new articles about this.
I like that every new session, it's not only answer for all our questions from previous versions of every framework, or maybe language questions, but only it is a new questions for the next versions, and for it is a basis for the solutions that will be presented on every meetup or conference that we will see this year, or maybe next year also.
Anna, a related question to that. I'm still doubting about the conference talk I'm giving at AppDevCon. I need to find a topic, right? If you were to give a talk at a conference, or if you were to visit a conference, what would you love to see in a talk from this topic?
Well, I think that there will be a lot of about Swift UI and different things that we could do with this. Also, I expect that there will be also a lot of about what are under the hood of concurrency of Swift into the implementations, and I think that there will be a lot of talks about how to migrate to new privacy conceptions, or to keep in tune with current rules of background working and etc. What about you, Stefan?
I definitely think the Swift UI changes are going to be very interesting, because it's not what a lot of people were expecting, I think, after the initial announcements. So I think it's really great to dive more into the lesser obvious things that have been introduced there. Of course, the hot new UI frameworks like the charts one, the app intents, maybe that's something that I think could be really interesting, because Antoine, you mentioned that you haven't played around with that yet. So I think there's a lot of people like that. But if it's making it really easy, then maybe it's something that more and more people will use, and maybe will drive like the entire ecosystem forward. So I think like these more subtle things that might have a bigger impact due to it just being more and more available could be great for things like a conference talk, because people might not know about that.
Yeah, and that's a decision you make, right? Like, do you give a talk that everybody speaks to, or do you pick something that maybe a part of the audience only really wants to learn about? Or maybe the other part doesn't know they want to learn about it. Yeah, it's a good one. What do you think about it, Maninder?
I was eventually, I feel like the charts topic and the weather kit topic would be the better choice. And plus, adding to it, like the Swift to and concurrency is also a good topic for a person who don't know about the concurrency stuff and what new the Apple developers add to the concurrency stuff. Plus, as per the charts thing, it's new to us, and eventually, no one knows that thing in the app and how to integrate or stuff. So usually, the developer used to do some go to the video or a medium link. So like it's an interesting topic to cover, the charts thing. So like developer will know more that and will use that easily. So
Thank you very much. Well, time is running fast, and it's already about 40 minutes of our small recap. And at the end of our recapping, I would like to thank all of us, all our company, Stefan, Antoine, Maninder, uh, to be today in WWDC Community Week recapped the first day. And there is also a question from the chat about what will be announced to today sessions, and there will be also a lot of different sessions, but the hottest topic will be privacy, networking, and if you are interested in watching how to build powerful multi-model applications, or maybe multi-platform applications, also watch today's sessions. And also there will be, as Stefan and Antoine mentioned before, deep dive into Swift UI layouts and several sessions about UI kit. And I also would like to thank people who join us, Nicholas and Nicholas Durin, and some man or maybe a girl with exciting electronics name. I'm sorry. I'm
Great name.
sorry. Our guest, exciting electronics. It's really exciting. Thank you very much for your questions. So have a nice WWDC week, and watch every session. Choose your favorite session, and maybe it will be your inspiration for something in your work, and maybe in some talk, maybe you will make some interesting content about what you will see on this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Anna, for hosting. It was great.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Goodbye.